Hey everybody, it's Mr. Chris at the Hudson Area Public Library. Another quick explainer video for a activity that we originally had as part of our virtual summer camp series. And at the end of camps, I had some extra materials and was able to produce some more kits that we used for the camps. And I thought I would just transfer that to the take and make activities. So the one I have for today is the Marshmallow Blaster, the ever popular Marshmallow Blaster. So what I'll do is just show quick some of the slides I had for that activity as part of the camp and give you a quick explainer on how to assemble and put yours together. And you have everything you need in the kit bag to put this. I've already cut the PVC parts in the correct sizes for you. So it'll be more just kind of understanding the science and how it works and getting it together and hopefully having lots of fun outside with it. So this again is Marshmallow Blasters. My name is Christopher Mick. So wind tunnels, you will notice when you assemble your blaster that it has a lot of bends and elbows in the assembly of the Marshmallow Blaster. And that directly ties to why it works so well. And this application is used in other areas of science, namely wind tunnels. So this is a photo of the outside of a wind tunnel. They're big, massive structures, and they generate a lot of power. And you'll see in this turn here, it has several turns. And in this image, I can only show you one of the turns, but those turns are how they actually help accelerate the wind they're generating to get the super high power winds if they're testing like a fighter jet or an advanced plane, and they want to simulate what that the effects might be on the plane when it gets to high altitude or traveling as fast as it can. So this is the inside of that same wind tunnel you were seeing from the outside. So at a certain section, they have these large blades that are specially designed to generate a lot of force. And the tunnel keeps wrapping around. It'll kind of go in different twists and turns. And they're different sizes depending on the speed they need for that particular wind tunnel. So they can be fairly small, like in the size of a parking lot, and then they can be huge where they really take up lots of area to generate those extra forces. So one section will have potentially multiple turbine blades that are generating the force. And then in a different section, you'll have the actual area where you're doing the testing. So this is a full scale model of a potential new airplane design. So you'll see some of it looks familiar to you. If any of you have been lucky enough to be on a commercial airliner for maybe a holiday trip or a spring break trip, you'll recognize the kind of body of the airplane, the wings, the tail, and the engines that are fairly straightforward and conventional. Excuse me. What is different for this experiment is this truss, which kind of attaches to the bottom of the plane and extends out to give the wing added lift and support and able to keep the materials lighter in a more advanced engine. The engine's closer into the body of the aircraft than usually happens on current modern day planes. And so there's some differences like that. So when they want to validate a new airplane design, they'll do several things. They can make a computer model of the plane that'll have all the exact measurements like the scale model, and they can do simulated tests on the computer. So they can throw it through a simulated environment on added power for liftoff and the power for landing, and how it'll handle climbing to altitude and cruising at altitude, excuse me, all those factors. And that gets you a lot of useful data if there's a lot of stress in certain parts of the plane, or if you should make some changes at that level. And the next step is usually to make what you see pictured here, which is a physical model to scale. And then they put it on this pylon you see behind the engineer here, which will keep it elevated. And the pylon can even do things based on remote control. It can pitch the nose up or down or turn the plane slightly, simulating, turning, coming into an airport, things like that. And then there's sensors that you don't see that are all over this plane. They're on the inside, and they can measure the loads of the stress on different parts of the plane, the friction, the temperature buildup. Is it getting thermal loads building up in certain parts of the plane versus others? Is that at the stresses and the heat they expected, or is an area getting more stress or more heat, more air resistance than they thought based on the computer models? And so they'll take both sets of data. They'll take what they learned in this wind tunnel test and then compare that to the computer modeling, and they'll see if things are kind of in agreement and what they expected, or if there's anything out of bounds where they should probably be making a further design change before they build a full scale test version of it, because that's, as you might guess, very expensive to build a full size real plane with the engines and all the material that would take for that. And so you want to try to eliminate any design errors at that computer and at the wind tunnel phase to hopefully ensure that you have a successful aircraft when you're going to have pilots fly it for the first time. So the engineer will insert whatever model they're testing that day, make sure all the sensors are active and responding to the people in the control room. And then they will leave this room, lock the door behind them. And then as you see more of the tunnel behind the engineer, they will turn on these blades, get this up to speed, and do the test they're going to do. So I can stop sharing my screen here because that's just a little bit of the science of what you're going to be making. If you want to grab your kit bag now, we can look at what is in there. And you'll have all the pre-cut. These are PVC plastic pipe parts. So you'll notice you have what we call T's for attaching it, and then what are called elbows. So it kind of looks like your elbow on your shoulder, and the T joint kind of looks like where your head meets your shoulders. So you'll have several of these, and these turns in the elbow are what help accelerate the breath you're providing. You're providing the force for the Marshmallow Blaster. If you're blowing in this end of the tube, it'll work fine. If you put a marshmallow in the tube and blow it, kind of like a blow dart, and you're just putting out a straight section. But you'll find that when you add the curved pieces in there, it helps the wind that you're providing by blowing into it speed up. The air inside the Marshmallow Blaster is speeding up when it hits these curves. So it's the same concept on an airplane. When the wind is hitting the wing, there's a curved top part of the wing and then kind of a very straight, flat bottom part of the wing. When the wind hits that curved part of the top of the wing, it compresses it and actually speeds it up over the top. And that's what provides lift for an airplane wing, how it works. You get the same principle when you're in the shower. If you've noticed, a lot of shower curtains have little magnets or suction cups at the bottom of the shower curtain. When you're taking a shower, it sounds like it should be the other way around because there's nothing happening outside of your shower. It's just the empty part of the room. When you're inside the shower, you've got all the rainwater going. So you'd think, if you just think about it on paper, like, well, there's all the steam and all the water pressure and everything happening inside, and you're standing in there. So the curtain, if anything, should probably want to push out, right? Push out to the bathroom because there's all that force and things happening inside. But what's happening is kind of like an airplane wing and kind of the science what you're going to do in your Marshmallow Blaster, because the water's moving on the inside of the shower and it's pushing the air faster than it would normally be, just the non-moving air outside of your shower. It actually causes lift. It causes that sped up air is happening over the straight kind of wing-like surface of your shower curtain. And so it pulls in towards you. It gets lift, acting like a wing. So that's what's happening. It's the intermittent water is pushing the air. The air is going faster over that flat surface. It's going faster over the side of the curtain in with you in the shower than it is in the air on the outside. And so the curtain gets lift, acts like a wing, and it comes towards you. So that's why they put the suction cups or the magnets on the bottom, because you don't want the curtain pushing into you while you're taking a shower. And so you can magnetize it or suction cup it there and it'll keep it, but it has that force acting on it. So we don't see it, but that's how airplane wings get a lift in an airplane. And that's how you're getting more speed out of your Marshmallow Blaster by those turns that are put in there that allow whatever breath you put in there to be sped up for it. So when you open up your kit bag, you're going to want to lay out all your parts. And then you've got a little handy dandy chart. So this is your kind of inventory sheet. So I pre-cut these for you. If you want to make more of these, or your brother or sister want one, it's just standard. You can get them 1/2 inch, 2-inch parts at any hardware store. And then you need a PVC pipe cutter, which is why I cut them for you in advance, because it's sharp and it's dangerous. And I didn't want to have you have to cut anything or have a rough edge for it. So it comes in long pipes, 6-8 feet tall, and then you cut them in the sizes you need. So I measured all these out. and then gave you what you have here is this inventory list. So you want to lay out all your parts, make sure you have everything that's pictured here. And those are all the parts you need to assemble a Marshmallow Blaster. Then on the flip side of that, you can arrange all those parts now if you want to lay them out and how your blaster should look and just kind of copy the picture. So if you're sitting this down next to you, you can kind of just lay out the parts and then they're all the correct size. So it just requires a little bit of snugging to push that in there. You don't ever want to glue your Marshmallow Blaster together. It's very well fitted and it'll stay together just on that. The reason you don't want to glue it is because sometimes getting distracted or whatnot, you'll have your marshmallow ready to fire and you accidentally tip the gun down a little bit, or somebody asks you a question, you turn and the marshmallow will drop down. Usually drops down into the handle parts of your blaster. And that's why everything can come apart. So if something like that happens, you can pull all the parts apart, clean it out. If you're sharing it with somebody else, you can disinfect it, wipe all the parts out, and then find any missing marshmallows and then just put everything back together again. So you got that little reference photo to always be able to put it back together again in case it comes apart on you or you're pulling it all apart to pack it up in the bag and to wait for later. I also gave you, everybody's got some different color sheets of duct tape because you can use these to decorate your Marshmallow Blaster. So if you're at the library, I had my Marshmallow Blaster on display, and you can paint these. It's a little bit harder to paint them because it's kind of an enameled, shiny surface. The paint doesn't want to stick to it well. So I tell people if you want to spray paint them, you can. Other camps I've done it where we have spray painted them. But usually put them on a pole or a stick outside in a grassy area in the yard, and then you can spray them so you're not having to touch it or rotate it because the paint will kind of run down. So it's a very light coat. You can come back and apply other coats after it dries if you do want to paint it. But putting them on little sticks outside is the best way, because if you lay them on paper, it's always going to stick to the paper. You're always going to have a part that is not been painted, and you're going to try to roll it over, and that wet paint will stick, and it takes a long time to dry for that. So if you want to do that, you can. But I included duct tape sheets because this is the easiest way to kind of decorate. So the only tip on that is you want to leave the ends clear because you're going to be connecting these. So if I put my tape all the way up to the edge, I will have a hard time getting, in this example, a shoulder on because they're fitted really snugly. And if there's tape on the edge of that, it's not going to want to go over. It's going to push your tape off and do that. So you want to kind of see, you can pre-check everything. It's usually about a ½ inch or so. Everything goes in on the connectors. And so if you just make sure you're kind of taping up to there, leaving all the ends of your pipes clear, it'll be fine. It's harder to put tape on the elbow pieces, and on the T pieces you can do it, but you can see all the curves, so it's hard to do tape. So I usually leave the T's and the elbows clear or just with no tape, and then I will paint the straight or put duct tape on the straight sections of pipe. So that's what these sheets are. You can tear it, you can cut it, kind of gives you some multiple colors to work with. If you have your own tape, you can obviously use that. And then you got all the parts you need pre-cut in there. And then you got some marshmallows for your ammo. So it's a little sealed bag, so you should have plenty of marshmallows to use for your ammo. The only rule I have for that is if it's hit the ground, it's not edible. Some people want to run around and pick them up and eat them. So it's just for your ammunition. You have a spare bag here. So either or, you can use one bag as your ammunition and the other bag to snack on. But yeah, they're fine to use for that. But when you shoot them and they go on the ground, it's kind of garbage. Then you should just throw that away and use another one because they get moist and you can't. If you fired one and you go to use it again, the likelihood of it getting stuck in the blaster is pretty high. So I always say it's a one and done. You can fire it. And that's why you have bags, multiple mini marshmallows. You can obviously buy more if you want to keep going with it. And then other things you put in with your activity pages, you have a little bit of a breakdown showing that wind tunnel that I couldn't show all of it on that one exterior photo. You just saw kind of one corner of it. So there's a little description on how wind tunnels work, how that applies to your blaster. And then a target for you. So point totals for your targets. You can put this on a tree outside, or if you're doing it in the house, if it's too hot day and you're inside with the air conditioner, you can put this anywhere you want. But it's good to practice your accuracy for it. How far away can you step and still hit the target the way you want to hit it? Or you can challenge a brother or sister or your mom or dad to who's the most accurate with it, and keep your point totals. You can write your score on the front or back of that. That's what you have. And then this bag, you'll just notice we talk about scales sometimes. So I include this just for reference because this is a larger marshmallow. And they make marshmallow blasters that'll fit these larger marshmallows. So as I said before, if you get into this, you want to do it. If you have a parent, whatnot, that'll help you get to a hardware store. They do make marshmallow blasters for the big size marshmallows. So you would have to get the appropriate PVC parts that fit, because what I gave you works for a mini marshmallow. You can imagine how big the pipes would have to be if you're using a large marshmallow. But there's different models for how to make your marshmallow blaster. There's different ways to do it. So if you get into this activity, I always tell people you can Google marshmallow blasters and you can see different designs, a lot of do-it-yourself things where you can download the instructions for free and you can try it out, different arrangements, different sizes, but that's just a little reference to scale on. Obviously, this big marshmallow would not fit in your blaster, but there could be another blaster made that would fit that's a larger scale. And that kind of ties to that wind tunnel example we gave again. They make different size wind tunnels for different tests. So sometimes the scale model airplane they'll have will be pretty small. Other wind tunnels, they can actually put a full scale airplane in. It's so big that they can test like private planes, fighter jets, smaller things. Now they don't have a wind tunnel big enough for a big commercial airliner, but they do have wind tunnels that can fit a full, like an F-14 fighter or a little Cessna 2-seat airplane. And when they're doing more high fidelity tests, they're putting the real plane in there. They can put the loads on it with the sensors, and then they get a very, very accurate prediction on how this plane will handle in real life and do that. So that's your Marshmallow Blaster activity. And if you get to decorate it and things like that, we'd love to see a picture of it. If you want to have you or a family member want to take a picture and share it with us, we'd love to see how you decorated it. And these will last forever. They're yours to keep. So the plastic holds up really well. And like I said, you can leave it together and decorate it. If you need for space considerations, you can take it all apart. If you want to be bringing it with to a cabin or a trip you're doing, they're made to be taken apart and put back together. So you got the assembly sheet there. So it's always there for you to put back together and enjoy and have fun with it. So good luck. Would love to hear what your largest, the greatest distance you can shoot it and see how you decorate it. So love to see those. And we'll be doing some more of these videos. I have a few more camp activities to kind of transfer into taking my kids. So maybe we'll get one of those and we'll see you again with the video. But enjoy your summer and thanks for doing it. We'll talk to you soon.